Alright, here we go. Good morning. It's Friday, August 30th, and today, kind of switching gears a little bit, not just going to do like tips and strategy stuff today, even though I love doing that stuff, but you know, it's Friday, Astral Chain's coming out today, and Man of Medan, which I'm really excited about. And I figured today I would go ahead and do the Southeast Game Exchange pickups. I was going to do it in the evening, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it Friday morning, because I haven't really done pickups for almost 2 months at this point. I think the last one I did was when I did pickups for June, and I think that was near the beginning of July, so I'm getting a little bit behind. And one of the other things that's sort of fun about this is I used to only do pickups live. I didn't used to do pre-produced videos. Last year, essentially every Saturday I would do a pickup stream, but ultimately one of the things I wanted to be careful about was I didn't want to, you know, make the live streams just purely a focus on that, so I kind of backed away from it. But, you know, since I'm committed to the live stream format for the next 90 days, well, 60 days at this point, I really don't have much of a choice. So, Dad, hello, good morning. Also, happy birthday. I hope you had fun coming up and hanging out yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed the gift that I got you that was sort of Fallout themed, because I know you're a Fallout 76 fan, which I'm sorry for that. I really am. So, hey, Mom. So, what I'm going to do today is just really go over all of the video game pickups that I got from the Southeast Game Exchange, and also the stuff that I picked up in July. It's not really a ton, because I was trying to save a little bit of dough because I had conventions like E3 and then Southeast Game Exchange, so I knew I would be doing some pickups there. But the first thing that I'll go ahead and say is the first pickup I got wasn't technically a pickup, but rather it was from Linda the Gamer Girl. She was the first one to give me something that I actually ended up bringing back from the Southeast Game Exchange, and that was a dust sleeve from Video Game Dust Sleeves, as you can see right here, which kind of has her branding on it, which I think is really quite nice. And then also there are a couple more. First off, like every year it seems like Video Game Dust Sleeves actually makes these and sends them out, and it kind of has like everybody, like all the YouTubers that were at the convention on it, so it's a nice little you know, kind of takeaway, kind of like a sentimental thing, I guess. And technically there's space on the back to have it signed, but I was running around like crazy and I didn't actually take the time to get everyone to sign. I think Russ Lyman had the same problem actually, because he got one. Lola, what's up? I just came home, 10 p.m, made it. Excellent. Well, it's all pickups today, Lola. And then the last one that I got was actually one from J-Love, which holds the first real pickup that I got from the Southeast Game Exchange, and that was this guy right here, which I got from Captain Retro, which was Castlevania 3. And that's the thing, I have played the original Castlevania, and weirdly enough, I went to a church camp when I was probably like 11 or 12 years old, and they had like a gymnasium, and up top of the gymnasium, where like you could play basketball and stuff in there, but then they had this part up top where you kind of look down over the court, and they had like I think it was, I can't remember the exact moniker for it, but it's like a 10-in-1 arcade machine, right? And I think it might have even been Nintendo themed, but it had Castlevania on it, which I thought was really quite funny to think that they had like a game where you go slay Dracula at a church camp, but also felt, I guess, kind of appropriate maybe. I have no idea. Nightcore, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? Jay, hello, how goes your editing? See, in this thing, I've never played Dracula's Curse. Now, I did really enjoy Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, and as I understand it, a lot of people are like, you know, Curse of the Moon is basically just, you know, Castlevania 3. I played the original one when I was growing up on, I think I had it, and then a little bit later I got Castlevania 2, and I enjoyed it, kind of, but I was so frustrated by it, and it was funny because J-Love and I actually had a conversation about this. She did beat it as a kid, but she had a guide for it. I didn't have a guide for Castlevania 2, and if you've ever watched Angry Video Game Nerd's review on that game, then you know that game is incredibly difficult because it is incredibly cryptic in terms of what you're supposed to do. Like, it's real bonkers how you're supposed to progress in that game, and if you were a kid playing it and you had no guide, it was basically impossible. The things you have to do to progress in that game, what was it, the oak stake, and then also there's a part where you have to like crouch and wait for a tornado to carry you away to a new part of the game. You never would have put those things together. Solid Nate, how you doing this morning, man? Thanks for swinging in. Cynthia, hello. Neo, how you doing? Been talking with you a little bit on Twitter. Awful translation. Yeah, dude, like, it's one of those games, like, you know, I liked, I mean, obviously there's a lot of great music that came out of Castlevania 2, and certainly, you know, like Simon's Quest also had, you know, The Morning Sun has vanquished the terrible night and all that. That was great. But ultimately a game that I never had a prayer of finishing on my own merit without a guide. So when it came to 3, I just never got around to it. I skipped 3 entirely when I was growing up, and a neighbor who lived about 2 doors down from me, she had a Super Nintendo, and she got Super Castlevania, so I kind of played that with her, and that's where, you know, it was just a complete gap, just one of those things where I didn't necessarily mean to skip Castlevania 3, just sort of never got around to it. Jeff, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? Thanks for swinging in. Top of the morning to you, Jake and Bacon. So, more pickups from the Southeast Game Exchange. So there was a $5 challenge, and I think that video is up on Russ Lyman's channel. I haven't watched it in its entirety yet, but basically the $5 challenge was, what's the best item you can find on the convention room floor for $5? Now, I'll admit, Most people went for games, and I'll tell you, well, I won't spoil it because you do want to watch that video. Whatever, I'll spoil it. T-Belly won, and he won beautifully, and somewhat ironically for me, with a game that was one of my childhood favorites, and that was F-Zero for the Super NES. Got it for $5. It's an incredible game. A little bit tough to play now. It does require some twitchy reflexes, but I thought I would get real cutesy and see if I could win the $5 challenge with something a little bit outside the norm. And what I got for $5, which I still think is a steal, and I have to thank Captain Retro for hooking me up on this, was an original Game Boy, complete with the guide. And I remember actually having one of these when I was a kid, and, you know, I didn't hold on to it over the years. So actually, for me, this was just like a really nostalgic, really nice thing to have. Realistically speaking, I don't know how much I would actually use it nowadays, because normally, you know, I play on, like, you know, like the Retron, if I ever do, you know, modern games or retro games, so I can get them out through HDMI. But yeah, I mean, like, it's got, you know, all the original codes and everything for a whole bunch of different games, and I thought that was a pretty good solid pickup for $5. You know, most people would make the argument that they should have won that challenge because they got a great game. My whole thing is, you could become a god in hundreds of games with the Game Genie, right? I mean, you could become indomitable. Retroheck, how you doing today, man? Thanks for hanging out. News says, just starting something out, Josh, and you have my full attention. Right on, man. I would be curious to see what you're working on. What's up? Yes, but yeah, and that's the thing. I haven't done pickups again in the live format in like a year. And one of the things that I would consistently hear from people was like, you know, why don't you start doing them live again? I kind of miss that format. I love doing them pre-produced because I could, you know, give really fancy shots and push on it. But, you know, there's merit to the live format for pickups too, right? You can kind of storytell around it a little bit, give a little bit of history of why you picked those games. So next up actually is another thing that I didn't win, or I did win it. But I didn't pay for this, and this was something I won from Pixel Game Squad when they were doing basically a YouTube trivia thing, and I guessed 8-Bit Eric correctly, and they had prizes available, so I grabbed this. And at first I was like, you know, that's cool, but I've already got an HDMI modded GameCube that I got from Rockering. But one of the things I didn't notice when I first looked at the box was that this HDMI adapter works for the N64. And I haven't played the N64 in years in any serious way, just because I haven't had a good way to get it to a modern television through HDMI, right? And I've been waiting because I keep hearing rumblings that we're going to get clone systems for the N64, and I was like, I got to get one of those. But now, I kind of don't have to. I can use the original N64 that I've got and play some of those games. Although, I will say my N64 collection is lacking compared to a lot of the other libraries that I have, so... when is this $5 video coming out, or is it out? I'll have to check with Lyman. Somebody mentioned it, I can't remember, it was probably somebody in the chat here said that it was already up on his channel, but I have not seen it yet, I don't think. So I'll have to look into that. Oh, by the way, before I forget, for these dust sleeves, which again are great, and the thing I really like about them is that they've got like kind of a high gloss finish here. But if you're interested in like a custom job or something that represents your channel brand, or if you just, you know, if there's some certain game that you would like to have put on it, I think it's a really cool thing that Video Game Dust Sleeves does, and you can find him on Twitter here if you're curious about looking into those yourself. And I love that, you know, I love that he was kind enough to include me on the, you know, amidst all these other, you know, very dedicated retro YouTubers, which I'm technically not, but I think I just got a pass, so that's fine. So next retro pickup that I got was this, and it was Harvest Moon for the Super Nintendo. Now, before anybody freaks out, because it's like a $200-$300 game, I did not pay $200-$300, so this is very clearly a reproduction card. And I mean, if you get a good look at the label here, you can see, you know, that's not the original. But Captain Retro, actually, after he did his panel with Linda the Gamer Girl, and they talked about, you know, like deal hunting and how to get good deals on retro games, he mentioned that, you know, he had a copy of Harvest Moon, a reproduction cart. I can't remember the story that he told of how he got it, but when he mentioned it, I was like, you know what, I've never played the original Harvest Moon, and it might be fun to try that. And I really don't care, you know, I'm not so much of a purist, and I'm like, no, for me it's the original or nothing, because, well, I really want to play Harvest Moon. I don't want to play Harvest Moon $200-$300 bad, but, you know, reproduction card, I'm okay with that. He being put on hold, typical something happens, now they don't know I'm supposed to be watching YourPlayerTwo. I know, right? The savages, Neo. So those were really all the retro pickups that I had. I mean, there weren't a ton, really just, you know, a couple of those games there. I mean, I got the Game Genie, you know, Harvest Moon, and then, you know, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, which I think are, you know, solid pickups, you know, things that, well, at least those two games I think are, fairly high regarded, at least as far as I know. But one of the things that I was very excited about was Limited Run did have a booth there, and I've never seen the Limited Run Games booth at a convention before. This is my first time. I think they had a booth at Too Many Games. They were at E3 technically, but I think they were just in meetings all day, or they had like a meeting space set up, but they didn't have like a booth set up to sell, or if they did, I certainly didn't find it. But one of the things that surprised me is, like, I figured Limited Run Games, they're probably going to have a limited selection of games, but no, man, they had tons of games there, including the elusive Bloodstained Curse of the Moon Collector's Edition, which I had already purchased from Warp Zone a number of months back, because they are an official retailer of Limited Run Games. But I was really surprised to see that in person. I was actually hoping to grab it for Rax the Great, because I know he's been looking for it, but somebody else grabbed it before I had a chance, so, guess that's what you get for hesitating. But I did get one limited run game for myself, and this is one that I was on the fence about when it went up on the website, and even seeing the reviews for, which the reviews for this game are off the charts, but there's something about the art style that gives me hesitation, and maybe I'm just passing judgment too quickly. And if anybody here has played this game, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, because I'm not really sure what to expect from it. All I know is that it was really highly rated, and I at least approached it with some curiosity, because it was an action game. Action or RPG games tend to be a little bit more of a draw for me than other genres, but that was Dust: An Elysian Tale. And they had the collector's edition, but I didn't really want to jump on the collector's edition without really having a better understanding if I'd actually enjoy the game or not. But yeah, apparently this game is like really highly regarded. And looking at some of the footage from the gameplay, I'm not going to sit here and say it looks bad. It doesn't look bad to me necessarily. I'm just sort of intrigued about what it is that makes this game so special. So if anyone has experience with it, I would love to hear what you think about it. They had a booth at Too Many... Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm hoping to go to Too Many Games next year because, like, Avedon, Chips, Rob Regal, all those guys from the Chillcast, actually, I think they live much closer to Too Many Games. So that's probably a good chance for me to finally, meet up with those guys and hang out a little bit, which I would love to do. But, just I haven't gotten up there yet. I don't think I could do 3 cons this year. Maybe next year. We'll see how it goes. Retro game I love is Gauntlet Legends for N64. I think I've seen Gauntlet Legends played, but I don't have it myself. Wait... Gauntlet Legends. Wait, there was a 64 version of that, right? Am I getting confused right now? Maybe I'm mixing something up. Anyways, there was one other pickup that I did get from the Limited Run booth, but it wasn't for me. It was for Jake and Bacon because he had been wanting this game. He's completely in love with it. He has the digital version, wanted the physical copy of it, tried to steal mine, which I would not allow, and that is Golf Story, so I went ahead and grabbed this for him. And, they actually have the collector's edition there, and I think it was like 70 or 80 bucks, but everything I've heard about this is one of the best RPGs on the Switch. Can I get that in focus? Hold on. I just need to get closer. Yeah, so Golf Story is supposed to be extremely good. A weird genre mashup, I guess, of golf and an RPG. Limited Run Games normal copy, no collector's edition. So disappointed you. I'm sorry, Dan. I have a few Limited Run Collector's Editions. Like, I got the Luminous Collector's Edition over there. I didn't skimp on that because that's an incredible game. I still think Luminous is better than Tetris, but not a lot of people hold that opinion. It is unpopular, to say the least. And then the final thing that I picked up, Limited Run, was actually, again, not for me. I picked this up for Avedon because I had joked with him forever that once I found a good deal on it, I was going to get him a PlayStation Vita because he trashes it so hard at every opportunity he gets. So I'm going to be sending this over his way, probably with my own copy of Persona 4 Golden, just so we can see what an incredible system it is. Because, again, my dad describes it as a Swiss Army knife, and it kind of is. It's a very capable little machine in a lot of ways, way ahead of its time for a portable when it came out in, 2012, 2013? Or was it 2011? Anyways, it's been out for a while, and it's kind of sad because, as a lot of you know, they're not making physical Vita games anymore. I think Limited Run can push through a few more, but ultimately, like, Sony made a statement, I think at the end of last year, beginning of this year, that they were halting production on Vita cartridges, so, which is weird. Like, the system's still really popular in Japan, as I understand, but stateside, it just never really took off in a big way, and that's a shame. Technically, it's a gorgeous system. The first revision of it, with its OLED screen, which allowed for deeper blacks and richer colors, was fantastic. The slimmer version, which is the one that I got Avedon over here, also looks really great. And I fired up to look at the LCD because it was the first time I'd actually gotten to hold one of these, and it still looks really good. Like, I thought there would be some major difference, like like the screen was going to be really, really washed out or something like that. And I'm sure in a dark room, like if you looked at them side by side, the OLED would have a clear advantage. But for regular day-to-day play, if you're not putting the thing under a microscope, like, it still looks extremely good, and it's way more comfortable to hold than the original model, I would say. If I find it out and about, I will absolutely pick up Gauntlet Legends. Do it on the channel? Well, yeah, I would have to, right? Golf Story is a game I want to get. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I've heard nothing but good things about it. I have it myself, and it's just one of those things where it just kind of started rotting on the backlog. Speaking of rotting on the backlog, I'm going to go ahead and move on now to the games that I picked up in July, and I don't think I left anything out. There weren't a ton, but there were a few, and I got a few good deals that, I was pretty pleased with. I like the first Luminous on the PSP. Yes, the first Luminous on the PSP is what got me into that series, and I really, really loved it. And they've all been good as far as I'm concerned. Like, the re-release that happened on Switch is really good. Electronic Symphony was really good. I think there was one that was specific to the 360, I want to say. And it also was really good, but I can't remember the name of it right now. Dan says, the Vita is a fantastic machine. I have a 1000 model and a PS TV. I want a 2000 model. Yeah, so as far as this one, like, this one's going to go to Avedon, but ultimately I want this version, but I want to get that orange one. I think that was only released in Japan or Europe, maybe? But there's, like, a bright orange version that just looks like just such a bonkers color scheme. Like, I really, really want it. And then I think that these are all the games that came out in July, but I did pick up the, Fire Emblem Three Houses Collector's Edition, which, again, has a gorgeous steel book. Like, it's a beautiful edition. I'm just struggling to get into the game. I'm struggling there, and I gave it some more thought, because theoretically each one of the mechanics individually I really enjoy, but I think it really comes down to two things. One is that there's a pretty big sort of wait time between each of the systems. So when I start doing the relationship building, which again is not a mechanic that's exclusive to Fire Emblem, right? You do the same thing in Persona 4, which is a game that I love. You do the same thing in Persona 5, which I'm playing now, which I also love. But and then you have the RPG battle system, right? Very tactical, and despite my best efforts, and it's weird because at first I was like, I just hate the tactical genre. I don't think that's true though, because Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, I enjoyed that game, and I'm glad to have it in my collection. I thought the combat was really fun, but I think the key difference, the reason I'm having trouble with Fire Emblem is twofold. One, those battles can last a really long time, and then I feel like I'm sort of stuck in one mode or the other for a little bit too long. And two, the other thing is, I do think that I can enjoy tactical combat as long as it's not too deep. And what I mean by that is, there are a ton of customization options, not just for the individual characters that you have in battle, but then also in battle itself, there's a lot of things you have to consider, like the terrain from which you're attacking, the types of units on the field, who's going to go next. And I think that much, or having so much flexibility or so much decision, is just sort of overwhelming for me. And I think in the moment I'm just like, I don't really dig this that much. Like traditional turn-based RPG or something like that, totally fine, right? You can customize your character, and you can make decisions in battle that will sort of affect the ebb and flow. Like I'm trying to help me. Amazing game that came out last, Octopath Traveler. Enjoyed Octopath Traveler, but this game it's not doing it for me, and it sucks because I know it's a great game. I know a lot of people enjoy it. I know a lot of people love the story, but I'm just struggling. Never got the PS handheld stuff. Always Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo's sort of the king of handhelds. But you should not rule out Sony. They made some good stuff. Moms, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? I have to run. Have a great day, Josh. Later. Jeff, you take care, man. We appreciate you hanging out a little bit, and good hanging out with you again at the show. That was tremendous. Fire Emblem, another one I need to get with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. My wallet is... Yeah, dude, and it's not going to get any better through September, October, November. It's just like a hailstorm of games that I really want to get. Jakin says, peasant, keep it up. See if you get your golf story, Jakin. Keep bombing up my chat with your negativity. I took your advice, by the way, and started talking to more channels. That's a good thing, man. Yeah, like, again, if you talk to more channels, though, like, that's great. Just make sure you're doing it because you legitimately enjoy them and you're actually genuinely interacting with them. Not, don't just show up at other channels, be like, go watch my stuff. Nobody likes that guy. So next up is a game that, I don't know if I could say I like it more or less than Fire Emblem. I'm struggling with this. I bought it because I was pressured into it by two specific individuals. One is Chad Flowers, who's a wonderful guy. Tesla Chad, got to hang out with him at E3. And this is like one of his favorite games of all time. The other is the Yellow Kazoo, who swears by this game and promises to basically tutor me in it. And that is ARMS, a game that I was extremely dismissive of. And one of the earlier titles on the Switch. And I gotta say, like, maybe it's just because personally, when I saw ARMS, I wanted it to be more Punch-Out-like, but maybe that was naive. As I understand it, underneath all of my preconceived notions about this title rests a very good game that is mechanically sound. And I will say, it's got style for days, right? It is a good-looking game, I think, in terms of presentation. I'm just gonna need some help getting into that. Like, for me, it was just very easy to be dismissive of that game, and perhaps, that was unfair, but we'll find out. I'll give it an honest shot. Another honest shot, I should say. Next up was a game that came out, and every now and then when something quirky and weird that I expect is going to be produced in fairly limited numbers comes out, I go for it. Not all the time, but I have no shame in saying that yes, I absolutely did pick up Senran Kagura Peach Ball, which is a game that I'll probably never stream on the channel, ever, because it would not fit the family-friendly nature of this channel, I don't think. But it's pinball of sorts, And originally, what I was going to do with this game was I had a really neat gag worked into it in a collaboration with another channel, which was relevant, and I'm sure a lot of you can guess who that might have been, but I'm not gonna spoil it here because that person has agreed to come on for a different collaboration. But you know, it's dopey, it's fun. I hadn't played a pinball game in a while, and I was like, you know what, I can deal with this. I can live with myself picking up another Senron game. Linus, how are you today? I'll get arms when it's $5. Yeah, see that's you know, I got it. I think I ended up paying like 20 or 25 bucks for it because I got a discount at GameStop, so I decided I would give it a chance. Tearaway on the Vita is pretty good, Retro Heck. That's another great game, but you can also get it on the PS4, so you'll lose like the touchpad functionality. But well, they might let you use the touchpad on the DualShock now that I think about it. I think I may have it for the PS4 as well. But you know, Tearaway is a really fun game, a solid platform with some unique mechanics. Josh, don't you dare say ARMS is better than Fire Emblem. I didn't say it was objectively better than Fire Emblem, Cynthia. All I'm saying is that I may like it better. Like, having now played a fair amount of Fire Emblem, and now I'm going to put myself through playing a fair amount of ARMS, I may find out that I secretly love ARMS, and I become, you know, a disciple for the game. And that if you gave me the choice, if you're like, you can play ARMS for an hour, or you can play Fire Emblem for an hour, I may choose ARMS. I don't know, right? That's what I'm seeking to find out. Peach Ball is good, can confirm it. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, because it'd be real easy to, you know, to jump to some conclusions about that game, I think. I'm well, thank you. Good morning. I'm glad to hear it, Pinus. Tearaway is a game that uses every function and button of the Vita, just not my style. I like the presentation quite a bit. Rhinelight, how you doing, man? Hey, dude, I just found your channel yesterday from your Beat Saber vid. Nice to meet you. It is nice to meet you too, Rhinelight. Yeah, Beat Saber is probably one of my top games of the year, even though I don't think it even came out this year. Just because, like, you know, it was something that got me up, got me moving in the mornings, and, you know, it was a way for me to exercise while still having fun and indulging my favorite thing in the world, which is video games, and to some degree, I guess, YouTube, because I made 2 videos on that. One was all the benefits I enjoyed from it, things like reduced neck pings. I got like a pinched nerve situation back here thanks to a degenerative disorder between my C6 and C7 vertebrae. You know, you get a nice head rush just from, you know, exercising and doing that in the morning, get you up and moving, and a little bit more natural energy than just doing Red Bull, for example. And then I did tips that I found on Beat Saber from playing through and making that gradual move from like easy to hard to expert. And now home for me is not expert plus, much as I'd love it to be, but expert with the speed modifier on it tends to be where I stay in terms of difficulty. One day I'll probably move up to expert plus, but not anytime soon. But I'm glad you found the channel, man. I hope you dig it. I hope you find some other stuff you like here. Also like your content, keep up the good work. I'm gonna do my best. Found the benefits one? Okay, cool, yeah. Ribme, what's up, dude? How you doing this morning? So next up, beyond that, this was the heavy hitter for July, the game that I was most excited about. Oh, actually, wait, did I leave a game out here? Hold on a second. When did Dragon Quest... Okay, Dragon Quest Builders 2, was that June or July? If it was July, that's the game that was probably my biggest heavy hitter for the year. An unexpected joy for me that I didn't expect I would get so sucked into, like 150 hours sucked into. But the one that, if you would have asked me like 3 months ago, what's the game you're most excited for that's going to be coming out in July? I absolutely would have said Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which has been tremendous. I adore this game. It's super fun, and that's the thing, it's not particularly deep, right? It's not the deepest action game I've ever played or anything like that, but if you're a fan of the MCU, or if you were a fan of, you know, the original Marvel Ultimate Alliances 1 and 2, or X-Men Legends, which were, I think, sort of the spiritual precursors to those games, then I think that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, like, you just can't pass on it. And one of the things that I love is they waste no time doling out like, what, 12, 15 characters to you, like in the first hour of play. Like, it's real fast. And essentially the thing that I like about what they did there is they dole out familiar characters to you, right? So you're gonna get the Guardians, you get Iron Man, Thor, you know, a handful of others, which that's already a pretty significant roster of heroes to choose from. But then they sort of, you know, move into these more obscure characters later on, and I think that's really interesting, because I feel like what they're doing, I feel like this is sort of a Trojan horse move for them. I think they knew, you know, people love the MCU, it's crazy huge right now, and naturally a lot of people, just on the merits of their love for the MCU and these characters that have been built up over the past, you know, almost 11 years at this point, that they was going to sell like crazy. And I'm so glad to hear that it did. Like, this game sold tremendously well whenever they dropped it in July. And then, but the Trojan horse part of it is, I think that they knew that people would pick up this game, but then I thought they could use that opportunity with the game to introduce some weird, more obscure characters to sort of start priming people for the inevitable, you know, Marvel Phase 4 and what we're going to see in the kind of new directions that they're going to go in with the MCU. So, you know, all that aside, all my, you know, predictions about what they were trying to do with it from a business standpoint, is just a super fun game. And I actually ended up playing it with Jake and Chips, Not Another Game Collector and Avedon periodically, and we actually did beat it the other night on stream, which was a whole lot of fun. At some point, I'll put that into a playlist so you can see the entire journey, start to finish if you're curious. Although I'd highly recommend, don't just watch it, go play it. It's super good, just so good. I'm still holding this so annoying. I'm still on hold so annoying if I miss this entire stream because I'm going to be. Hey, you can always catch the recap, man. I mean, it'll be up there. Ruby says, tired. I have a feeling of sleeping during the stream. Well, if you're tired, man, you can always catch it later. Dude, get a nap. Dragon Quest Builders 2 came out on July 12th. Okay, so that also is another pickup. I don't have it. Actually, I might. Hold on. I do. Okay. So, Dragon Quest Builders 2. And I'll have to say, I didn't play Dragon Quest Builders until Sushi Fairy here in the chat sort of reminded me that it was coming out and implored me to check it out. And what I did was I played the original about a week before this one came out, and I could see that the foundation of the game was really, really good, but there were a lot of frustrations that I think they fixed in Dragon Quest Builders 2. Just a lot of quality of life improvements, things like, making sure that you could have your weapon and your hammer equipped at the same time so you didn't constantly have to switch. Weapon durability was completely removed. There might have been a run button in the original, I'm trying to remember now. But everything about the game is amazing. You don't have to have played the first one to appreciate the second one. I certainly was going to finish the first one after I saw how much better the second one was. But if you're somebody who has like Minecraftian sort of building game, like tastes, but then also you like a light action RPG element, definitely don't sleep on Dragon Quest Builders 2. That's absolutely worth a look. And I had never played a mainline Dragon Quest game. This month, well, technically next month, I'm very excited because Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age is going to be coming out for the Switch. I already downloaded the demo, and if you're not familiar, if you're thinking about like dipping your toe in the Dragon Quest pool, the very cool thing about that, and I think this is just like a Square thing that I love that they've been doing lately, and the same is true of Dragon Quest Builders 2, you can download the demo for either of those games, DQB2 or Dragon Quest XI, on the Switch, and all the progress that you make will carry over into the main retail game if you decide it's for you, you enjoy it enough to pick it up, which I think is incredible. Like, every game should do that in my book, but, not always the case. So, that's fine. This is super great. So, the last Switch game that I got, and this was a game that I absolutely told myself I was not going to get. It did not get very good reviews, despite the fact that it was an updated version of a game that I super enjoyed in its original iteration, and that was The World Ends With You. Now, the thing about The World Ends With You is it relies very heavily on touchscreen controls. So obviously the game is best enjoyed portable mode, but that's the thing about the Switch. Unless you're getting the Switch Lite, the Switch is dockable, right? So if you dock your Switch, then obviously you need a different way to play it. And I think the only way that you can do it, I think you can do it with the sticks by holding a button to sort of simulate swipes, or I think you can actually use motion controls with detached Joy-Cons, but every review I've seen on this game says that it works like garbage in that mode, so there's no way. And the thing that really bugged me about that is the audacity to charge $50 for a game that really only works in portable mode in a way that you would say is serviceable. So there's no way I was going to pay full price for this game, despite the fact that I wanted to see the updated presentation for a game I really enjoyed, that had a really unique premise, really fun combat, and again, solid music, but I wasn't going to pay $50 for that. So it actually dropped to $20 on Amazon not too long ago, and that's when I decided I would go ahead and grab it. At some point I would sort of explore it and see if all those claims were true, but then also just kind of dive back into the game and see how it was. I kept pestering everyone about Dragon Quest. I'm glad you did, because I love it. Yes, 150 hours plus at this point, Ryan Light. I've spent a lot of time diving into Dragon Quest Builders 2. It's super fun. I can't, it's become my new forever game. Like, at night, if I want to chill out before I fall asleep, I'll jump into the Isle of Awakening, which is sort of like the area where you can build as much as you want. And I just, I build little houses, right? I relax. I plant some wheat. I make some cakes. Like, it's just a really chill game, and I love it. I might think of listening to Stormlord. Not familiar, Ribman. YourPlayerTwo or chat, I stepped away for a second. What is the name of that Marvel game? It is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which fell on the floor here a second ago. But yes, this game is 200% worth your time. Not especially long. It's not a crazy long game or anything like that. The combat isn't especially deep, but it's got enough spectacle, a good enough presentation, and a cool enough story, and really, really good voice acting, including the voice actor who did Miles Morales. He came over to basically be Miles again for this game. So it's if you're a Marvel fan, totally worth it. If you find it on sale, forget about it. Like, you have to get it. Moral imperative. They even have free DLC for Dragon Quest XI. Yeah, I've heard that is the complete version of the game. Oh my god, I love that game back in the. Oh, what, The World Ends with You. See, and that's the thing. Like I loved it too, but I didn't. I didn't like the idea of paying 50 because I don't think I even paid 50 for it when it came out. Right? That would have been what, a $30 or $40 game max for the DS. Murr, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm glad you were awake to see it, man. I'll be here for about another 20 minutes just talking games and stuff. Now the last 3 that I got were actually for the Xbox. Now, I actually did not purchase any PS4 games, I don't think, in July. But I took a chance on, let's see, I'm going to do these in order of risk, in terms of the riskiest games that I wasn't sure I was going to like and pick up. And then I'll go down to the, the one that I thought was more of a sure thing. And the first one that I got, let me get the sticker off here because I think stickers are gross, is Call of Cthulhu. And here's the thing, like, I've heard this is basically a walking simulator with maybe only, like, one really true combat section, but the thing about it is I have absolutely zero familiarity with anything Cthulhu or Cthulhian based. Like, whenever I talk to somebody who's really into that sort of like I guess like cosmic horror, or this very cerebral sort of horror experience, they always speak fondly of it. And usually when I meet somebody who's like a fan of like Cthulhu or H.P. Lovecraft or whatever, they're like rabid about it, right? They are some crazy big fans of his work, and I would say the work that he inspired, I guess. But I have almost no familiarity with it, and I could go back and just read the stories or just pick up H.P. Lovecraft book, I guess. But I thought this might be fun, and like atmospherically speaking, based on the footage that I saw, it looked like the sort of dark, kind of brooding experience that I typically like in my horror games. It looked like they did a great job of building up atmosphere. So it might be that I find the walking simulator aspect of it to get boring. We'll see. I think it really depends on, because that's the thing. Like, do I like an atmospheric game? Do I like kind of walking around in a very moody environment? Absolutely, that's fun. But if I can't push the story forward quickly, or if it becomes too much of a drag, mechanically speaking, then it can get bad. I'll tell you, a game that was a total walking simulator that I loved was Gone Home. You beat that game about an hour and a half, 2 hours. This, I think, is going to be much longer than that. But ultimately, from what I'd seen, it looked interesting. And I like, again, October is rapidly approaching. I like spooky stuff, so I decided I would take a chance on it. Anita says, I would say if you're a Marvel fan, rather than purely MCU, you might get frustrated so many things they could have done. Well, yeah, I mean, they've got tons of flexibility, but, movies take a lot longer to make than comics. Nintendo's pricing is insanity. Yeah, like, I don't know if that was Nintendo or who was at fault for that, but, that just seemed like crazy over the top for The World Ends With You. Cthulhu, we played the pen and paper. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I think I watched Jim Sterling do a review on this game, and he had referenced that it was based off of a pen and paper game, which I haven't played a ton of those. I've played a little bit of D&D here and there, but I've not done a ton of pen and paper or anything. I've played a few board games, but my taste in board games, or at least my experience, is extremely pedestrian in that arena. I would probably consult you, Mur, if I wanted to dive deeper into that world. Call of Cthulhu is on my want list. See, like, why is it on your want? Are you like a fan of that kind of literature, or those kind of stories, Dan? Or were you like me, where you're just like, ooh, that just looks pretty cool and I want to check it out because I like horror stuff? Storm is an extreme metal band from Rome, Italy. They have released 5 full-length albums to date. Supreme Art, that's a lot. I will have to check them out, though, Ripman. Mur says, no, really, ARMS is still $50. So is One Two Switch is not a $50 game. That's barely a tech demo in my book. I mean, I'm not going to say that I haven't played it once or twice. I don't have it in my collection. I have no desire to have it in my collection. But, like, Muzz had it, and I'm completely fine. Like, if there's, like, some party scenario, people are hanging out, and they want to play One Two Switch, I don't mind playing some mini games. That's totally fine. But ultimately, $50 for that game, that's completely insane. That should have been $30 max, and even that I think would be pushing the boundaries of what would be considered acceptable. Plus, there are probably better minigames out there, or minigame collections. Now, I have heard, or I don't think they formally announced it, but wasn't it rumored that we were going to get a Wario game for the Switch? Because if so, that would be a minigame collection that would be worth, like WarioWare Smooth Moves, WarioWare Micro Games. A lot of the previous WarioWare entries were games that I was a fan of. But, 1 2 Switch 50, come on, get out of here. I get that, but PS4 and Xbox One prices are still up there. They can't. I think Xbox is the best value in gaming right now. Like, if somebody wanted to get into console gaming and they were like, yeah, I don't have a lot of dough to spend. I don't want to spend like $60 every time a new game comes out. Get an Xbox One for like $200, $250. You find it pre-owned for $180. Get yourself Game Pass for a year, and that would cost Game Pass with Live for a year. I think would cost you, what would that be? Is it $15 a month? Because I think it would be like $180 total, I think was the math on how that broke down. But basically, for the price of what you would pay for 3 retail games, you get like an unlimited smorgasbord of games to choose from, and they've got a really solid selection. And then you get the Xbox exclusives. Like, first off, you get them day one, right? You don't have to buy them because it's rolled into your subscription. But then, like Gears of War 5, you're gonna get it 5 days early, and that's tremendous. I hope so too, Planets. I really want a new WarioWare game. It's been a minute for me. Switch's class is one of the big main consoles now. Oh yeah, it totally is. Speaking of WarioWare, I have a friend who loves WarioWare. His name is Shadow Dearest. I mean, they were solid, fun little titles, and really unique and inventive, I thought, with some of the micro games they did in particular on the... Was that Game Boy Advance or DS? I think it was Game Boy Advance, the original one. Good stream and chat 100. Gotta go. Gotta get going, but have a good morning, day, and weekend. All you do the same, moms. I appreciate you hanging out, taking the time out of your Friday morning to hang out, man. Hope your weekend is a tremendous one. If you want a more action-oriented game in the universe, Sinking City. So, oh wait, hold on, let me back up. You had said something a second ago and I missed it, Dan. I discovered Cthulhu in Ryan Lindley's novels. Okay, so I'm not familiar with that at all. I can look it up, but I am with you on that Sinking City, and I had toyed with doing Sinking City instead of Call of Cthulhu, but now it's getting a port to the Switch, and it looks like they actually, and I love that there's a video that they dropped, the developer put out, I think it was just yesterday, where they talked about the technical challenge of bringing it to the Switch, which can be a rough thing, although we've seen certain developers do an amazing job porting stuff over to the Switch. Panic Button, they brought, those are the developers that brought, I believe, Rocket League and Doom 2016 over to the Switch, and while obviously they're not the prettiest versions of those games, they will never be the prettiest version on the Nintendo Switch, they're super playable, and still completely playable. Like, that's the thing about that gets me, is when it comes to Sinking City, at first I was like, yeah, I'll just get on the PS4, but I kind of want to see how the Switch version does, because I feel like that will be kind of fun to play in portable mode. The more problems I can tell you than that in a comment section. I don't know why that got flagged for review. That's really weird. I regret buying 1-2 Switch when it first launched. Yeah, I saw it and I thought about it, because I think, like, the launch window of a system, you're just more willing to make compromises about the quality you'll accept, because it's like, you just got a console, you want to justify that purchase to yourself, so I think there's a temptation there to lower your standards a bit and what you will and won't indulge with your gaming habits. I know I certainly go through that, but 1-2 Switch, even though I was, like, hungry for more stuff, I was like, I think I'll just go spend another 50, 60 hours in Zelda. I think I'll be okay. I don't really see the problems with the Switch's prices. Wait, for first-party stuff or just period? Because I think what Mur was... Oh, well, I guess Mur was talking to you. Sorry, I got confused there. All right, the second Xbox game that I got in July was really, weirdly enough, now that we're talking about Switch ports, was a game that I got a renewed interest in because it was coming to the Switch. And at first I was like, oh yeah, I'll get that for the Switch. That seems like it would be fun to play. But then I found this version, which has been enhanced for the Xbox One S, or Xbox One X, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, if this is cheaper, and I have an Xbox One X, and really it's more of a nostalgic purchase anyways, because I first experienced this series in the PlayStation 2 days, and I thought it was amazing because of it's what they call geomod technology, right? Fully destructible environments, and that was Red Faction Guerrilla Remastered, which is about the dopiest subtitle I think you could have for remastered. But a lot of people I talked to, and a lot of the footage I saw, this game looked like a lot of fun, like a fun little romp, right? Like, I don't think it's a AAA by any stretch of the imagination, but, basically them saying they were going to put it on Switch got me excited and thinking about it, and then I was at GameStop, and I think this was like $15 or something, so I was like, you know what, I'll give that a shot. Like, I've heard a lot of people enjoy this game, and I haven't touched it since the original. I don't think I've played a Red Faction, well, no, I think I played 2 a little bit. But one of the things that got me more interested in it too was Adrian, not another game collector, had been streaming Red Faction 2, I want to say, a few months back. And I was like, that was a fun game when I played it the first time around. I wonder how, its more recent entries are. So I decided to take a small risk on it, I guess. I think for some reason Nintendo's getting a lot of heat for it. Some PS4 and Xbox One prices are 60, 70, sometimes close to 80. Yeah, and that's the thing. We kind of did that to ourselves, I think, as gamers, which I'll explain that in a second. On a positive note, I actually like the online service and pricing for the Switch, really? Because I can't stand it, personally. And it's not because I don't like NES games or the prospect of SNES games or other value adds. I just feel like Nintendo still doesn't have a solid base experience for online. And I think that's ridiculous because they've had almost 2 decades to work on it. But, I'm not going to go on a huge rant about how dissatisfied with it. I'll save that for the Chillcast. I'm sure it'll come up again at some point. Really happy for Nintendo. They got a big main console out there for now. I mean, I have nothing but respect for Nintendo in terms of how they were able to, turn around the Wii U debacle, which I truly think was a debacle. I mean, it was a system that just could not compete. Like, it didn't, it didn't have a chance, really. I mean, I don't want to say it completely, and I see what they were trying to do with it, right? They figured, hey, Wii was a huge hit. Why don't we just keep that train rolling? We'll just call it the Wii U. But then it sort of created marketplace confusion, and then they launched questionably where they had this huge rush of games, like I think 30 or 40 titles at launch, but then it was like a drought for months after that, and there were some good experiences that, like, I really liked Zombie U on the Wii U, actually. I thought that was a fun launch title. But ultimately, long term, I don't think it was going to get it done. I think they realized pretty quickly it wasn't going to get it done. And I'm so glad that even though they came in very near the tail end of this generation to try to turn it around, that they did a good job. Like, the Switch is killing it in sales. I'm sure the Switch Lite will be no different. And there are a ton of great games that exist for the system now, and more that continue to be in development. Right, just that portable aspect is just so appealing. It's so good. And the last one I got was actually another game that I've beaten all of these. But ultimately, I had not played them in the updated graphics style, and that would be BioShock: The Collection. Now, I want to say Russ Lyman had streamed this some months back, and I'd watched him do it, kind of bombed in on his stream. And, this includes BioShock, BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite. The first two of which I have the collector's edition for, and the story of how I first played BioShock, period, was kind of fun. Well, actually, those are two of my favorite stories from the history of my gaming. Was when the original BioShock came out, I only had like a cursory kind of familiarity with it. I was driving home from work one day, and where I lived at the time, up in Delaware, when I was on the way to an apartment, I had to pass a GameStop, where I was kind of like in this little plaza, and I would go hang out with those guys on a pretty regular basis, and just hang out, talk games. I'm a huge lord. Basically, whatever GameStop's equivalent is of a mall rat, that's kind of what I was. But I called them on the way back from work one day, and I was like, hey, did anything new come out this week? And he was like, yeah. He's like, we got one. We have, he was like, BioShock came out. And I was like, I kind of know what that is. I was like, do you think it's worth it? And he was like, yeah. He was like, you should try BioShock. He's like, we have one collector's edition left. And I was like, well, how much is the collector's edition? He was like, it's like, I think it was 70 instead of 60. And I was like, 10 extra bucks, what if I love this game? So I grabbed it, and I'm really not expecting much, and then completely fell in love with that game. I thought it was brilliant, not just because, again, atmospherically it's super fun, mechanically it's super fun, but the story it tells in a meta sort of way, which you've never played the original BioShock. There's no way I'm going to spoil it here, but it's tremendous, and I think one of the best in gaming's history. So that's how I got it, and I still have, like, the Big Daddy kind of pewter figurine that came with it, and I think it's a pretty pricey collector's edition now, as I recall. But then when BioShock 2, I got the collector's edition. It was cool. It came with the Sounds of Rapture, like, vinyl record, which was neat. But at the same time, BioShock 2 I felt was pretty inferior to the first one. Like, it didn't grip me in the same way. I feel like it didn't really do enough that was super new, despite one or two cool mechanical twists that were actually kind of horrifying, which if you've played 2, you know what I'm talking about. But then Infinite, when that came out, I was completely intrigued. I was like, oh my god, this is completely different than what we saw in the sprawling underwater city of Rapture. Now we got a city up in the sky with Columbia. How's this going to play out? And that also was a tremendous story. And I think of the three, I put 1 and 3 basically neck and neck for me. Like, I like the story in both of them. Gameplay in both was super fun. But I remember when 3 came out, I played it, I want to say it was March 2013, played it, beat that game, and I was like, this is tremendous. This is the best game of the year right here. Like, how could anybody deny this? This is, hands down, BioShock Infinite, Game of the Year 2013. And then about a week or two later, I want to say, The Last of Us came out. And as soon as The Last of Us came out and I played that game, I was like, forget about BioShock Infinite. The Last of Us is Game of the Year. And that, I'm so excited for The Last of Us 2, I just about can't stand it. I intentionally at this point am waiting to play the DLC that I never played for the original Last of Us, because I want to save it and play it just before The Last of Us 2 is about to drop, just to get more pumped for it. But, we'll see. $8 for a vanilla game. Honestly, never classed Wii as a big main console. Oh yeah, it was totally, in my mind, totally a big main console. They crushed it with that system. Owning a Wii U was a fantastic Nintendo experience. Yeah, like, I don't hate that system. I just feel like they had some marketing missteps with it, and that, it didn't get the play it deserved, and then it didn't garner the third-party support I think it really needed to be successful in the marketplace. There are systems that I really like that were not at all, huge marketplace successes. I guess you could even say the Dreamcast, like, I think it started strong, but eventually would fade into obscurity, which I think Sega historically has always been ahead of its time when it comes to its hardware. But one video I would like to make whenever I get back to pre-produced video is to talk about my favorite Dreamcast games of the era, and go over my Dreamcast collection as it exists now, which sadly is really lacking on a few key titles, one of which is Dynamite Cop. Had so much, and Dynamite Cop's not an amazing game, right? But it was super fun multiplayer, and I really enjoyed it. Or Power Stone. Both of those were great. Sorry, didn't notice, still on hold. No worries, Neo. I get it, man. Shaboinky Boink, hello. Yakuza 7 announced for 2020 with an RPG combat system. Yes, they were talking about that on the Loopcast last night and talking about how viable it was, or how fans were going to react to the fact that they were moving to a very different format for Yakuza 7. I have very little experience with Yakuza. I didn't play my first Yakuza game until, I want to say, this year or the tail end of last year when I picked up Yakuza Kiwami on the recommendation of, I think, Sushi Fairy and also Maro. Maro in particular I know is a huge fan. She's always talking about it. And then she was super pumped for Judgment, which I thought Judgment looked cool, but I was like, man, this is technically like an offshoot of the Yakuza universe. I don't really want to grab this when I've barely played any Yakuza titles, but, as far as turn-based for Yakuza 7, I mean, we've seen established series try to take a hard left in terms of their genre before, and with mixed results, I would say. Like, sometimes I think it works, or it's at least playable enough that doesn't completely alienate people. Maybe it draws in some fresh blood to a series, but then you've seen things go super wrong. Like, wasn't Metal Gear Survive a huge departure, and, like, nobody picked that game up? Or it was supposed to be a travesty? So I feel like that's shaky. Like, I understand. For me, if you've got something that works, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I would like to know the thought process behind moving to turn-based, when historically I think people have appreciated that game for its combat and the way they do it now. But actually, given it had that badass song in the commercial, it did have that badass song in the commercial, I completely agree. I wish there was more typical turn-based games out there. That type of game is dying. Pick up Dragon Quest XI, man. You'll be fine. Seems turn-based games is all on phones now. There are some that are on phones that I think are pretty good. What's that one? Was it Dragalia? I can't remember. I tried it, but I enjoyed it. I just didn't stick with it because there are some amazing mobile games out there, but push come to shove, I'm always going to pick a game with tactile controls over a mobile, any day of the week. It's because younger generations find it tedious, I think. I could see that. I mean, it's not a fast format. Although, I do feel like some of them have had some quality of life improvements that fix that. Like, even with, like, the Final Fantasy remasters, they did the thing where you could, technically, I guess it would be like overclocking, where you could speed up everything so it would move at a faster speed. But you're right, I think modern gamers are more conditioned for a faster experience rather than slow, deliberate experiences. For me, there's room for both. Usually in games, especially like Borderlands, I'll move super fast, from point A to point B, because I just, I like knocking stuff out fast. But, then there are games like Control, which I'm playing through right now, where I could speed through the game, but I am very slowly, deliberately just crawling through every inch of that place, gathering up the lore, because it's so good. Like, Control is an amazing game. But I guess I'll talk about that on the August pickups video, which at this point is probably going to be 2 days from now. I'm not sure. PS Plus September free games are pretty good. Batman Arkham Knight and Darksiders 3. I think that's great. I mean, Arkham Knight's a fun game. I think the tank mechanics slightly missed the mark, although it wasn't unplayable. Like, you can have fun with the tank Batmobile, basically. Darksiders 3, I feel like I have to grab, although I haven't finished Darksiders 1 yet. I'm very close to the end of it because I picked up the Switch port, but I want to knock it out because I know that Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition, more fun with subtitle puns there. I think that comes out in September as well. So, and there's just a massive deluge of games coming out in these next couple of months. It's gonna suck. It's exciting, but it's gonna suck. PS has stepped up the free game quality lately. Metal Gear Survive failed because they charge people for extra save files. Ooh, I don't even think I knew about that. That's a misstep, shaboinky boink. News says, when there's amazing games like Blood Bowl, XCOM, and the old-fashioned Final Fantasy games, none of which... No, I did play XCOM. I played the original XCOM. I have played some of the older Final Fantasy games, but not a lot. The Metal Gear Survive was boring as well parts. XCOM is great. New Age of Wonders game is really good too. Streamed that one recently. I would have to check that out because I'm not familiar, Mer. I want to play the remake of it because if it's not turn-based, I cringe so bad. Mer says, I'm very apprehensive about the Final Fantasy VII remake. If you don't like that style of faster action, I could see how you would be disappointed, but honestly, I think it strikes the balance really well. Like, I played the Final Fantasy VII remake at E3, and when I played it, I felt satisfied on both the action front and the tactical front, right? Because, whenever that gauge fills up, you can slow down time, and when you stop it, it basically just becomes not exactly the same, but almost the same mechanics as you would have gotten from the original Final Fantasy VII experience. So I feel like they very carefully updated the mechanics in that to satisfy people who wanted a more action RPG oriented experience. But then if you want, yes, there is still, plenty of opportunity for you to stop things, especially in some of the more crucial boss battles, and get a better sense of your surroundings, or strategize based on like the individual heroes that you're playing as and the different attacks or attack types that are available to them, I guess I should say. It's really good, and the presentation is top notch. Like, that's got to be one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen. It's fantastic. Neo says, I won't play the remake. I wouldn't rule it out, man. Like, it's... Again, I come from a place where I don't have the nostalgia for the original the way a lot of people do. As soon as I got done playing the demo, though, I came home and immediately bought Final Fantasy VII on the Switch so I could start playing through it. I made a fair amount of progress. But, again, for purists or people who just love the original and they don't want to budge, it may not sway them, but... if that's the place that you're coming from, I would urge you at least try it. They're no doubt going to put a demo out because they're going to want this in the hands of as many people as possible, which is really the goal with any game, I guess. It feels like a kind of a goofy statement to make, but nonetheless, if they put that demo out, check it out first before you pass judgment. It's, in my opinion, very much worth it. Chris Levi, what's going on, man? How are you this morning? I will play the remake one day. I'm more worried about the episodic releases. And that, yeah, I would be curious to see how they're going to deal with that. I'm not sure. And that, I will say that collector's edition looks pretty nice. And again, not even coming from a place of nostalgia, I was more into 8 than I was 7. And I'm also glad to see that 8's going to get an HD remaster. That's pretty great. Or I guess just a remaster. I mean, it's not like they're... Well, I guess HD remaster, not HD remake. Sorry, that terminology gets confusing sometimes. I will take your advice, sir, and try it if there's a demo. Yeah, I mean, you got nothing to lose trying the demo, and honestly, even though I know a lot of people are apprehensive about it, especially, given the roots of it being very much a turn-based kind of experience, I'm telling you, like, elements of that are still present. It's not like they ripped it out of the game entirely and made it something completely different. And even though I wasn't familiar with a lot of the locations from the original game until fairly recently when I started, exploring Midgar, and the different sectors and seeing how some of these things play out, seeing some of that same stuff reflected in the gameplay footage that I saw both in the videos and then also in the demo myself, I can tell you, I mean, it made a believer out of me. Because at first I was like, I don't know if I really need this Final Fantasy VII remake. I barely played the original. After playing the demo, though, no, that's a most anticipated for me, probably in my top 3 for next year, for sure. Ron, what's up, man? How you doing today? Thanks for coming back. Square Enix had a current-gen sleeper in Children of Zodiacs. Try it if you like tactics RPGs. I'm not the biggest fan of tactics RPGs. Occasionally one will hit with me, but usually it's like baby mode ones, right? Like Kingdom Battle. I'm good, just about to release a video and want to be back home to play more Astral Chain. Fun game so far. Ooh, I've stayed away from people's stream. I know they were doing a late night last night. I'll be picking my copy up in... this evening. I'm gonna go grab a burrito, pick up Astral Chain, and also Man of Medan, which... If Daniel does not fall asleep, my buddy Daniel, Brackaman, he is going to stream it with me. I think he's going to jump on Discord, because it is a co-op, or it can be anyways, you can do it single player, co-op horror experience from the same people that did Until Dawn. Pre-order that as well, picking it up today, same time I pick up Astral Chain. And I think we're going to do that because he's on the West Coast, so we're going to do it midnight my time, 9 p.m. his time, I think is the plan. Assuming he's not too tired and he's willing to stick it out and play with me. Very excited to try that game. And it's a budget title. It's like $30, right? So if the game's complete garbage, or even if it's only a couple hours long, if I have fun, get some jump scares out of it, especially if I can have an entertaining stream out of it, totally worth the price of admission. But we'll find out in 15 hours-ish. I'd love it if Kingdom Hearts was turn-based, to be honest. That could work. Anyone enjoy Final Fantasy 15? I haven't played it. Couldn't tell you. I have it and still haven't played it yet. Shaboink Boink says we need a Breath of Fire remaster or Chrono Cross. I have heard people clamoring for that. Rob Regal from the Chillcast, delightful individual, favorite game of all time is Chrono Trigger, which I have for the DS and still have not played. Tragic. But I know a lot of people would love to see a new entry in that series, period. Was playing Divinity 2 last night, also a delicious choice. Wait, is Divinity 2 the game where you have to teach yourself how to read? Or am I thinking of a different game? Co-op horror experience, you say? Sushi, you know about this. Me and Daniel have been going back and forth on this for weeks now. Well, maybe not just on the Twitter chat. We haven't talked about it a lot there, but certainly in stream. Man of Medan comes out today. And, if Daniel's going to play, because Daniel got it too. I hope he got it for the PS4. That's what I got it for. I'm sure he did. But definitely going to do this co-op horror experience, see if I can freak myself out in a very vicious way late night tonight, and kind of start getting ready for the horror. And If you're a Game Pass member, you just got Blair Witch for free, another game that I want to try, which if Daniel is too tired to stream, I will definitely be over on Jaken's channel tonight watching him stream Blair Witch. I think he said it was going to do it late night, because that game looks fun. I'm excited. For the original Blair Witch was sort of masterful in terms of an internet marketing kind of sensation. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of spooky games. Ooh, and a fun thing, we're talking about spooky games, I asked my boss if I could get both Halloween and the day after Halloween off from work. Got both of those days off, so I will be doing a monster stream of Luigi's Mansion 3 the day that comes out. No way I'm going to miss that. Super pumped for Luigi's Mansion 3. So I think I'm just going to start streaming that at like, I don't know, 8 in the morning or something psychotic, and just stream it all day. That sounds super fun. Yep, I'm grabbing Astral Chain today for sure. Daniel is Brankaman on YouTube, Brackaman, I believe. See if I can drop him in the chat real quick. If I spelled that wrong, Sushi, please correct me. Looking forward to Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Oh yeah, no doubt. Link's Awakening, I mean, it's a must, right? You're a Nintendo fan, you gotta get it. Plus, I had a lot of fun with that game originally, which I would love to talk about at length, and honestly, I could talk about any one of these games at incredible length, because, you know, man, I have not done the pickup stream in a while. This actually feels really good. I miss doing this. But now I have to get ready to go to work. But anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out this morning. It's been a lot of fun talking about something, shifting away from tips a little bit, just to have some fun on a Friday morning. Astral Chain's coming out. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to have fun with that. I know I certainly will. And then, you know, I'll be on the Chillcast at 10 p.m. tonight over on Abaddon's channel, which if you want to check that out, that will be happening over there. 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about, you know, recent video game news. And then around midnight, if Dan is down for it, I will be playing Man of Medan, which I think will be fun. Which I can't wait to title that video, because, you know, dude's name is Daniel, buddy of mine, and then it's, you know, it's going to be like Man of Medan with my man Daniel, which I think is just the perfect title. Like, how can I not do that? It's perfect. So, alright, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go ahead and take off. Again, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Everyone who's taking the time to hang out in the mornings, you know, when you're probably trying to get ready or going to work and everything. I know that's exactly what I'm doing about 3 minutes from now. But yeah, I really appreciate it. So enjoy the rest of your Friday, the rest of your weekend if I don't talk to you. You know, have a fun and safe one. And, you know, I'll see you Monday morning for another live stream, and the streams probably this weekend that I've already talked about. So, alright, take care.